Hi everybody, it's Jenny from Norman S. Wright. So I want to continue talking about some hot topics in the industry. We'll get back to components in the system in a couple videos, but I want to talk about decarbonization and electrification today. So in California and Norman S. Wright and our customers, we've been talking about decarbonization and electrification for a couple years now. And then last year, ASHRAE formed a task force for building decarbonization. Electrification is also driving people to look at different components than they've put in buildings in the past. So I really want to touch on this subject and introduce you to decarbonization and electrification before we move back into components. So let's talk about that now. You've probably heard the stats before, but about 40% of U.S. energy consumption is from buildings, and 54% of building energy usage is from the HVAC system, with about half of that being used for space and water heating. Buildings also account for 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions, so there's definitely room for improvement. Let's get a couple definitions out of the way. Decarbonization means the reduction of carbon, specifically the reduction of carbon dioxide emissions. Electrification refers to the conversion of systems to use electrical power. I thought it'd be interesting to start with a Google trend of the popularity of the term decarbonization. This is the search history of the word since 2004. The 100 in April 2022 represents peak popularity, and it was also close to this level of popularity in February 2021. But the month before that, in January, it was a 40, meaning it was 40% as popular. You can see that prior to 2021, not many people were looking at decarbonization and electrification of buildings. So electrification of buildings is probably new to many people, if the search data from Google since 2021 is any indication. While the U.S. has reduced carbon emissions in the last 2 decades, carbon emission from buildings have remained flat. This is where building decarbonization and electrification come in. Since the 1970s, engineers have looked to lower the energy use of buildings through design, but now as an industry we want to take it further. Let me make a little bit of room here. The next step is using equipment in the building design that only uses electricity. All electric buildings do not need to pipe in gas or other fossil fuels that create emissions. California, where many of the Norman S. Wright offices are located, is leading the way with codes related to electrification. The last step in a decarbonized building is to switch your energy sources to renewable energy. So let's draw a typical older building. This building will have gas and electric supplied to it. Then over the past decade or two, we've made efficient buildings. With these, we use design strategies that increase efficiency and lower the energy use of the building, but they're still supplied by gas and electric. Then we can look at the equipment in the building and make sure it uses only electricity, so you no longer need to pipe gas or fossil fuels that are burned on site and create emissions. And that's your all-electric building. And then finally, you look at how the electricity gets to the building and what is generating it in an effort to use more renewable energy. So our decarbonized building is getting its electricity from renewable sources such as wind turbines and solar power. And sorry, my wind turbine looks a little like a flower. Okay, let's make a little bit more room. So until around 2015, nearly 50% of the U.S. electricity was generated from coal. After 2015, the U.S. switched over mostly to using natural gas to make electricity. Now across the U.S., natural gas generates about 38% of the total electricity. Individual states differ widely, though. For instance, in California, 40 to 50% of the electricity comes from natural gas since before 2000. In Nevada, it's been 50 to 60% generated from natural gas since the early 2000s. Hawaii's electricity is mostly generated from petroleum, And Colorado is about 45% generated from coal, Utah is 65% from coal, and Wyoming is over 80% from coal. Let's make some room again. Now it's easy to put all of this on paper, but there's a lot of parts of the HVAC system that have historically used gas. So as an industry, we're on a learning curve. But like many of our HVAC system innovations over the last 25 years I've been in the industry, a lot of this starts in Europe, and so we can see what's being done there as a starting point. The most common uses of fossil fuels in buildings are for heating, either by gas boiler or furnace. These can be replaced with heat pumps. I'll go over how heat pumps work in a future video, or probably several videos, but heat pumps are energy efficient, and since they absorb heat from the air, they actually produce more heat output than the energy input they require to operate. For instance, 1 kilowatt hour of energy input can provide 3 to 5 kilowatt hours of heat output. Because of this, we're seeing heat pumps used in place of boilers and variable refrigerant flow, VRF, systems being looked at for a lot of applications. Let's move this up here. With California adopting building codes to reduce its reliance on gas, and cities like San Jose prohibiting the use of natural gas in all new buildings, we'll be hearing a lot more about decarbonization and electrification in the future. We're seeing this all across the country as well. Between building owners and investors making decarbonization commitments and current and upcoming regulation, we need to prepare to electrify our buildings. There are a lot of things we will need to consider, such as new construction versus retrofit and the climate that the building is in. The switch to all-electric buildings will also increase the demand for electricity. It is estimated that the demand for electricity will triple by 2050. So there's a lot going on around decarbonization and electrification, and there will be for quite some time. I'll discuss these specific HVAC technologies in future videos, but you can reach out to us at Norman S. Wright for HVAC electrification design support if you need more information now. So that's an overview of decarbonization and electrification. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and thanks for watching.